Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated, even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free.
And I want to speak directly to all those who have yet to get fully vaccinated, the people who think the disease can't hurt them. Look at the people going into hospital now. That could be you. Look at the intensive care units and the miserable, needless suffering of those who did not get their booster. That could be you. So make it your New Year's resolution, far easier than losing weight or keeping a diary. Find a walk-in centre or make an online appointment, get that jab, and do something that will make 2022 a happy new year.
We need everyone to get vaccinated. Sal, did you say free fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get this, these delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this? Let me check with Bill Neathart. Is it too early in the day to eat a burger? No. This can be breakfast? Okay. I want you to look at this and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment.
I mean, just simple words there, reacting it. You're quite emotional about that.
Well, it's just, it's been, you know, it's been such a tough year for so many people, and there's William Shakespeare putting it so simply for everybody that, you know, we can get on with our lives. And you know, there's still a few months to go. I've still got this worry that we can't blow it now, Piers. We've still got to get the vaccine to millions of people, and so we've got to keep sticking by the rules. But it's just, you know, there's so much work gone into this, and I'm really, it makes you proud to be British.
Just the light at the end of the tunnel. It's us beginning to come out of the tunnel, which is the crucial thing.
That national independence was vital when it came to approving COVID vaccines faster than any EU country, and therefore getting the fastest vaccine rollout of any major economy and the fastest economic rebound in the G7. And let me just ask you, in case you've forgotten, because I haven't had a chance to remind you recently, which of all the 200 countries on earth, which was the first government, after all the miseries of COVID, to put a licensed, approved and effective vaccine into the arms of our citizens? It was a British government. It was a Brexit government. It was a Conservative government.
I want you to look into my eyes, Rishi Sunak, and I want you to look at the pain, the trauma and the regret I have in my eyes. We have been left with no help at all. Not only am I in here that's vaccine injured, there's another man over there whose life's been ruined by that COVID-19 vaccine. I know people who have lost legs, amputations. I know people with heart conditions like myself, Rishi Sunak. Why have I had to set up a support group in Scotland to look after the people that have been affected by that COVID-19 vaccine? Why are the people who are in charge, who told us all to do the right thing, have left us all to rot and left me and the thousands and the tens of thousands in this country to rot? We're silenced on social media and everything. Okay. We are silenced. We are the most silenced people in this country.
Silence in the press because my story...
I'm very saddened and shocked to hear that you've been silenced by anybody. That is surprising to me. So
it's very likely that several months after the vaccine, the mRNA jab is likely causing people to have heart attacks and cardiac arrest. My own father died 6 months after the second jab, and when I wrote about this in a peer-reviewed journal, it was accepted there was a likely possibility here. So we're dealing with something really quite extraordinary. And the question is, did Pfizer, did Albert Bourla know, right? And I find it very difficult to believe, given this independent reanalysis, that they didn't know that. Now, even if they did know it, what we know historically, Laura, is we have to accept this and understand this at the root. You know, these drug companies, pharmaceutical companies, have a legal obligation to produce profit for their shareholders. They do not have a legal requirement to give you the best treatment. And the real scandals are that regulators failed to prevent misconduct by industry, and that doctors, academic institutions, and medical journals collude with industry for financial gain.
The CDC has, are you ready, identified a possible safety concern for some people who received Pfizer's COVID shot. They say the vaccine could be linked to increased strokes in those who are aged 65 and up.
That's why we have such immense pride when a family member becomes a doctor or a nurse. We have so much respect for them. They need our respect now more than ever. They need our help.
Today, those doctors and scientists have found us a way forward, a COVID vaccine that is safe and will help save lives.
There is no chip or tracker in the vaccine to keep watching where you go. Your mobile phone actually does a much better job of that.
I mean, the claim is, Angus, the claim is, from the establishment claim is that having the vaccine saved a huge number of lives, and that whilst there are some who suffer from side effects, they are a tiny percentage.
That is what they claim. Well, I personally don't believe it at all, because one of the things that you get taught when you're at medical school, if you know two people with a condition, then it's very common. Well, I find it very difficult to find people who don't know someone who's had an adverse effect from the vaccine campaign, the vaccine program.
That fully vaccinated people are at a very, very low risk of getting COVID-19. Therefore, if you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. The safest thing for the country is for everyone to get vaccinated.
The NHS is 75 today, and it's time to put the old dear out of her misery. We love the doctors, we love the nurses, but today is no celebration. Our National Health Service is a national health shambles. As we get sicker by the day, a devastating new study of 19 major health services by the respected King's Fund found that ours came second last on the all-important metric of saving lives. Only America's was worse. The NHS has some of the worst survival rates for cancer, heart attacks and strokes among advanced health systems. And we have the second lowest life expectancy among wealthy countries. And it's not about the money. The UK ranks 6th on the list for health expenditure as a percentage of GDP. The £180 billion a year that we now spend on health and social care is responsible for 40p of every pound we spend on public services. It's a broken business model that would have crooked banker Bernard Madoff blushing. People boast that the NHS is the largest employer in Europe. That's not a boast. That is a sign of its wild inefficiency.
We're back now with a record number of migrants crossing into the U.S., pushing resources to the limit in many American cities. Now hospitals are sounding the alarm, saying they're also overwhelmed, including some far from the border. Julia Ainsley has our report.
The research says 3 doses of Pfizer, BioNTech and Moderna's mRNA vaccines could trigger myocarditis, a rare condition of heart inflammation. A 3rd dose of AstraZeneca vaccine increased the risk of another heart condition, pericarditis, 6.9-fold. The 1st and 4th dose of Moderna increased the risk 1.7-fold and 2.6-fold respectively. Those who took the AstraZeneca shots had a greater risk of developing a rare neurological disorder, Guillain-Barré syndrome. They also had a 3.2 times increased risk of getting blood clots. The Moderna vaccine increased the risk 3.8 times of the neurological disorder. Acute disseminated encephalomyelitis for AstraZeneca's vaccine users, there was a 2.2-fold increased risk of the disorder. The study also warned of several other disorders that need further investigation.
President Biden, something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad I let you speak. That's
Your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President.
My memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I've become president.
Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
Do you believe that, President, why are you confusing the names of world leaders?
Thank you, everyone. I did not share classified information. I did not share it. And so what I was referring to, I said classified. I should have said should be private because it was a contact between the president and the vice president as to what was going on. That's what he was referring to. It was not classified information in that document. That was not classified. For example, I didn't know how half the boxes got in my garage until I found out staff gathered them up, put them together, and took them to the garage in my home. And all the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked. It was in my house. It wasn't out in Mar-a-Lago in a public place and none of it was high classified. Didn't have any of that red stuff on it. You know what I mean? Around the corners? None of that. And so I wish I had paid more attention to how the documents were being moved and where. I thought they were being moved to the archives. I thought all of it was being moved. That's what I thought.
President Biden, too, facing questions tonight about his handling of classified documents from his time as vice president and senator. The long-awaited special counsel report just released included pictures of classified Afghanistan documents found in the garage near a dog crate. And while there are no charges, the report says Joe Biden disclosed classified materials when he was a private citizen. What could this all mean for the upcoming election just 9 months away? CBS's Catherine Herridge has the details from the report.
The 345-page special counsel report is critical of President Biden over his handling of highly classified documents, including photos of records crammed into desk drawers, some in a damaged cardboard box in the garage at his Delaware home, others at a former office in Washington, D.C. Special counsel Robert Hur writes that Mr. Biden's conduct presented serious risks to national security. But Hur decided not to bring criminal charges because the evidence does not establish Mr. Biden's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The president responded this afternoon.
Bottom line is the special counsel in my case decided against moving forward with any charges. And this matter is now closed.
During the year-long investigation, special counsel investigators questioned 147 witnesses and collected over 7 million documents from Biden's time in the Senate as vice president and to the present day. Mr. Biden himself was interviewed by Hur, a former U.S. attorney, for 5 hours, who wrote that the president did not remember when he was vice president or when his son, Beau, died. If the president were charged, Hur wrote that he would likely present himself to the jury, as he did during his interview with our office, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
Please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to President Trump, who brags about his test and makes your mental state an issue for voters?
Well, if he can't figure out the difference between an elephant and a lion, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Did you watch that? Look, come on, man. I know you're trying to goad me, but I mean, I'm so forward looking to have an opportunity to sit with the president or stand with the president in debates.
Well, look,
He brought it up on his own.
On one hand, you have a president who they say is too senile to stand trial. Well, on the other hand, they say he's perfectly fine to run the United States of America. Those two things can't make sense at the same time. But I want to point out something, Sean, which is that we have known about Biden's senility and mental frailties for a long time. The fact that the mainstream media and even the Democratic establishment is now picking up on this signals to me that they are getting ready to move him out of the way. And precisely because Donald Trump is on the path to to mop the floor with Joe Biden this fall. I think he is. That's why I think there's a very good chance it's not going to be Joe Biden. So we have to be skating to where the puck is going, not just where it is. One step ahead. We can fall into the temptation of thinking the Democratic Party is as sillily stupid as Joe Biden appears to be on a given day. That's actually not the case. They're actually one step ahead, and I believe they are planning to replace Joe Biden quietly. And I think this is just one more step in leading us there for us to be prepared to really have a much more competitive race this fall than it appears at the margin.
Listen, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, you can't have somebody this cognitively compromised. By the way, a credit to this show. We've been pointing it out since the last election. And by the way, back then he looks lucid and with it compared to where he is today. The decline has been that significant. We've shown people the tape. If you believe that, then who is likely to replace him?
Look, I think they have a major Kamala Harris problem because this is a party that has tied its very identity to identity politics. She only got the job, let's be very honest, because of her race and gender. I know you're not supposed to say that, but it's the truth. And so if they're going to move Joe Biden out of the way, but they don't want Kamala Harris in that seat.
Democratic identity politics. That's absolutely that is a known fact.
That's the core. And they know that Kamala Harris cannot be the nominee. And so they have to have somebody who checks off one of those identitarian boxes. So that's why I think it's not going to be Gavin Newsom, whether it's Michelle Obama to Hillary Clinton to somebody else. It has to be somebody who checks off their temple of identity politics box.
Mr. President, classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
Let me, I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said earlier this week, people, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street. But at any rate, yes, as well as my Corvette.
Have you been tested for some degree of cognitive decline?
I've been tested and I'm constantly tested. Look, all I got to do is watch me, and I can hardly wait to compare my cognitive capability to the cognitive capability of the man I'm running against.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not, I haven't observed anything in terms of, there's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything.
Final thing. America is going to face Al-Qaeda 3.0. The intelligence community has been clear and has briefed us repeatedly. The Taliban taking over means Al-Qaeda 3.0 comes roaring back. Except now we're in a worse position than we were before 2001. We have no bases in the region. Our local allies are being hunted down as we speak. And as you've heard today, the Taliban are going to be armed to the teeth so that when future American soldiers have to go back in to deal with the problem and deal with the incompetence of this administration, how many are going to die now? Because they're going to have to fight their way through our own equipment, our own damn equipment, to deal with Al-Qaeda 3.0. Are we going to have another Pulse nightclub? Are we going to have another San Bernardino? Are we going to have another 9/11 because of that incompetence? Well, this Congress is going to lead. Our offices right now are operations centers, calling gate guards, calling the Kabul airport, guiding people through, telling them how to avoid Taliban checkpoints. Our own Congress. It's unbelievable, the lack of leadership. So I 100% agree. That blood is and will be on Joe Biden's hands, and this Congress will hold him accountable. Thank you very much.
Mistakes. There was a report on Afghanistan withdrawal saying there was failure, mistakes. Do you admit there was mistakes during the withdrawal and before?
No, all the evidence is coming back there. Remember what I said about Afghanistan? I said Al-Qaeda would not be there. I said it wouldn't be there. I said we'd get help from the Taliban. What's happening now? What's going on? Read your press. I was right. Thanks.
So the report is from the State Department, actually, about the withdrawal.
American people the truth about what our options are in ending this war. If tomorrow The order goes out from I'm President of the United States. I issue an order. End the war today. Begin to withdraw all American troops. It will take a year to get the American troops out. Do you hear me now? That's the truth. It will take a year to get them physically out. Now, if you leave all the equipment behind, you might be able to do it in 7 months. And you leave those billions of dollars of weapons behind, I promise they're going to be used against your grandchild and mine someday. So it matters.
About the idea of taking that kind of a test.
I believe, for me, you're asking me my personal opinion, he is sharp. He is on top of things. When we have meetings with him, with his staff, he's constantly pushing us, trying to get more information. And so that has been my experience with this president. Anything else outside of that, I just shared with you what Dr. O'Connor said to me, and so I'll just leave it there.
Which is why the time has come for voter ID, like everything else.
One of the main features of the voting integrity bills Republicans are introducing across the country is voter ID. According to the Democrats and the media, this is, of course, racist. In fact, it's worse than racist. It's
Jim Crow on steroids.
Jim Crow.
Jim Crow in new clothes.
Jim Crow.
Jim Crow in a suit and tie.
Jim Crow.
Jim Crow.
Jim Crow.
In new Jim Crow.
Jim Crow.
Backsliding into the days of Jim Crow.
Voter ID is just the latest example of the GOP turning into an extremist, alt-right domestic terror group or whatever. There's only one problem. Most Americans agree that voters should have to show a valid ID before voting. In fact, not just most, but nearly all. According to a recent Harvard-Harris poll, 87% of Americans support voter ID laws. It's not extreme, it's the mainstream.
The government's accused of making it harder for some people to vote, because this is coming.
The way we vote is changing. You now need to bring ID.
This affects general elections, and on May the 4th, it'll affect England's local elections too. Labour's described this as a blatant attempt to rig democracy in the favour of the Conservative Party. In a viral tweet, the writer Armando Iannucci claimed the policy is simply biased against younger voters, designed to suppress their vote.
You know, if you go out and you want to buy groceries, you need a picture on a card. You need ID. You go out and you want to buy anything, you need ID and you need your picture. In this country, the only time you don't need it, in many cases, is when you want to vote for a president, when you want to vote for a senator, when you want to vote for a governor or a congressman. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Politics with the war. What was that? I asked her, is Prime Minister Netanyahu playing politics with the war?
I don't think so. He's trying to work out a serious problem he has. Thank
We're discussing the White House is joining the Biden campaign in pushing back against recent video clips going viral that make President Biden look as though he's confused during public events and other appearances. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre blasted the use of the misleading videos, which are edited to make the president look bad and then circulated by right-wing media and allies. Take a look.
They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation. I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos, and it is, again, done in bad faith.
Wow.
That's all they've got.
The Republican accounts circulating many of the clips responded, claiming the videos are unedited and promised to keep posting them.
A lie.
And also,
lie.
if something is unedited, it's
really
one
all
angle,
lies.
not showing the whole story.
How about this, Mia? They lie about their lies, which of course you would expect liars to lie about their lies.
Oh, I mean, we're talking about Trump's.
But they're lying about their cheap fake. They're not
Washington
bad.
Post.
By the way, I got to say this one more time. They're only helping Joe Biden. They're only lowering expectations. They do it before every State of the Union address, and then afterwards, they're so freaked out that Biden did well, they say he must have been on cocaine.
Continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
Absolutely right. And now we go into a cup final on Sunday on top of all of that. So, very good. I began to watch the game with the Netherlands Prime Minister, but we left at 1-1.
Well, you guys are still talking to one another?
We haven't seen each other since, so we'll have to see.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. So thank you all for coming.
So Starmer's going to get tough. We're going to treat the trafficking gangs as if they are terrorists. We're going to take the lead in Europe. Goodness me, I've heard that before. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to sign back up to Europol. Not Interpol, no, Europol, the EU's own police force. And we will take our share of asylum seekers crossing the Mediterranean, coming in to the European Union. We'll be signing up for the EU refugee program, something we weren't even in as members of the European Union. And given that yesterday 6,800 people landed in Lampedusa, Italy alone, I suspect the number, even if the boat stopped, the numbers coming would be even bigger than now. We're going back into EU programs. He won't solve a thing.
President Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have signed a long-term security agreement. The two leaders held a joint press conference earlier today at the G7 summit in Italy. Our Nancy Cordes has the latest from there.
Good evening. President Biden stood on the stage behind me a short time ago, and alongside the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the two men signed a historic agreement. This would essentially commit the U.S. to supporting Ukraine for the next 10 years with military assistance, military training, intelligence sharing, all designed to send a message to Vladimir Putin in Russia that the U.S. is not going anywhere, that he can't simply wait America out, as President Biden said. That was just one of several major developments on the Ukraine front here in Italy today at the G7 summit. The G7 leaders, including President Biden, came to an agreement to provide a $50 billion loan to Ukraine using the interest from hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Russian assets that have been frozen around the world since shortly after this invasion began 2.5 years ago. That is money that Ukraine will be able to use starting as early as this year to rebuild its shattered infrastructure, build power plants, and to build up its own capacity to produce weaponry so it doesn't have to rely quite as much on the U.S. and on other nations around the world.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't. I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again. So ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb. I did not know that was a Robert Kennedy quote. My mistake.
I did not share it.
And so what I was referring to, I said classified, I should have said should be private because it was a contact between the president and the vice president as to what was going on. That's what it is referring to. It was not classified information in that document.
I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again.
You used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look.
Do you regret using the word illegal to describe immigrants last night, sir?
Well, I don't regret it. Technically not supposed to be here.
I will not bow down. An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented.
Because Barack Obama's vision was not to leave 10 million people uncovered. He wanted every single person in this country covered. My plan would do that. Your plan would not.
They do not have to buy in. They do not have to buy in.
You just said that. You just said that 2 minutes ago. You just said 2 minutes ago that they would have to buy in. You said they would have to buy in.
To buy in. If she qualifies for
Are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?
Be in for it.
Are you forgetting already what you said just 2 minutes ago? I mean, I can't believe that you said 2 minutes ago that they had to buy in, and now you're saying they don't have to buy. You're forgetting that.
I said anyone like your grandmother who has no money.
We need a healthcare system.
You're automatically
enrolls people regardless of whether they choose to opt in or not. If you lose your job, for instance, his healthcare plan would not automatically enroll you. You would have to opt in. My healthcare plan would. That's a big difference. I'm fulfilling the legacy of Barack Obama, and you're not.
I'll be surprised to him.
Andrew Yang.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question.
Well,
the question
I did
is,
answer
did you make a mistake with those deportations?
The president did the best thing that was able to be done at the time.
How about you?
I'm the vice president of the United States.
Secretary. But my problem with Vice President Biden, and Corey pointed this out last time, is every time something good about Barack Obama comes up, he says, oh, I was there. That's me too. And then every time somebody questions part of the administration that we were both part of, he says, well, that was the president. I mean, he wants to take credit for Obama's work, but not have to answer to any questions. I mean,
Vice President Biden,
I don't get that.
You have 45 seconds.
Let me just say.
That's not what I said.
Hold on.
I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus. The only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate. A whole range of people.
No,
my point is...
that's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first. I said the first African-American elected. First African-American.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor. You need to come to the city of Newark and see the reforms that we put in place. The New Jersey head of the ACLU has said that I embraced reforms, not just in action, but in deed. Sir, you are trying to shift the view from what you created. There are people right now in prison for life for drug offenses because you stood up and used that tough on crime, phony rhetoric that got a lot of people elected, but destroyed communities like mine.
Well, Jose, I mean, it looks like this is a promise broken. There's no easy way to describe this other than a flip-flop from President Biden. He said in the 2020 campaign that he would not build another foot of Trump's border wall, that it was a waste of money, didn't make any sense. And here we have the Department of Homeland Security saying they're going to waive 26 federal laws to build more wall more quickly.
Crooked Joe Biden is pretending to finally do something about the border. But in fact, it's all about show because he knows we have a debate coming up in 3 weeks. The truth is that Joe Biden's executive order won't stop the invasion. It's weak and it's pathetic. It will actually make the invasion worse. Millions of people a year will continue to pour across our border and be released into our country. And we recently learned Biden is secretly granting mass amnesty to hundreds of thousands of these illegal aliens, along with welfare, government benefits, work permits, and jobs. He's not doing that, however, for our veterans. He's not doing that for our homeless. He's giving illegal aliens far more than our veterans get, far more than our homeless get. Many of the left are even pushing for illegal aliens to vote in our elections, which is what this is all about. That's why they're allowing up to 20 million people since he took office. When I was president, we built over 500 miles of border wall, stopped the flood of criminals, and we had the safest border in the history of our country. We need to secure our border once again. We need to secure our border once and for all. Crooked Joe will never get the job done. He doesn't want to get the job done. It's just words and misinformation, because he could have done it very easily. All he had to do is say, close the border. That's the power of the presidency. But when I'm elected, it will be my top priority. On day one, I will seal the border, stop the invasion, and send Joe Biden's illegal aliens back home. They have to be sent back home because no country can sustain the damage that our country is sustaining. All over the world, crime rates are going down because all over the world, not just South America, they're sending criminals into the United States of America. They're taking their drug dealers and their people in jail, lots of people in jail. They're taking their murderers, their killers, they're taking them all and they're sending them into the United States. In Venezuela, crime is down a staggering 67%. Because if you go to Caracas, if you go to different places, they're sending their criminals into the United States. It's a horrible thing, and that's happening all over the world, many, many places, many countries. We're not going to let it continue. We're going to get them out. We're going to bring our country back to safety. We're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. Thank you very much.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
Feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school.
If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
No, I will go and take Trump out tonight. Take him out now.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president? They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
We're going to go in there, we're going to...
This is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
What we've got to do is fight in Congress, fight in the courts, fight in the streets, fight online, fight at the ballot box.
Fighting and pushing around the clock, fighting. Continue to be brave and be strong and keep fighting. We're getting people engaged in the fight. We're fighting. We've got to keep fighting and keep focused. Continue to fight.
Fight. This is going to be a fight.
We'll also fight him and challenge him in every way that we can, in the Congress, in the courts, and in the streets.
To continue fighting. We each have an important role to play in fighting. In this fight, like so many before it, it has been a fight. The American people are going to have to fight. And about the importance of fighting, I will always fight.
I am going to wake up every day and fight hard. I have been fighting. We're going to fight. We are going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. And I will fight.
Folks, Donald Trump is a convicted criminal. He's convicted. Mr. Trump raped her. No, I mean, it's the judge's language, not mine. He raped her, as many people understand the word rape. Folks, Donald Trump is a business fraud. Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat to this nation. Trump said if he wins, he'll be a dictator on day one. He means it, folks. We're not going to let that happen. Over my dead body will happen. I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends.
There's no figure in American history, at least in the modern era, maybe since Lincoln, who's been so vilified and really persecuted by media and, Hollywood elites, political figures, even the legal system. And when the message goes out constantly that the election of Donald Trump would be a threat to democracy and that the republic would end, I mean, it heats up the environment. We cannot do that. It's simply not true. Everyone needs to turn the rhetoric down. You have political opposition and political opponents, but we're all Americans, and we have to treat one another with dignity and respect. We can have heated political discourse and debates, but it shouldn't be personal, and we shouldn't be targeting people. I mean, look, President Biden himself said in recent days it's time to put a bullseye on Trump. I mean, I know that he didn't mean what is being implied there, but that kind of language on either side should be called out.
It's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that wouldn't accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win.
Mr. President, you've been in politics a very long time, so let's speak frankly. We're all adults here.
Everybody's still shaken up by the tragic events at the Trump rally this Saturday. All weekend I kept thinking, I wonder what Jimmy Kimmel's going to say about this on Monday. And then I was like, oh, I am Jimmy Kimmel on Monday.
Is it okay to call someone a fascist if you believe he's a fascist?
Yeah, I think that is okay to say that. I mean, it's a descriptor of someone's politics. It's not inciting violence against them. I think it's legitimate comment. I mean, so again, we come back to the fact that he did not accept the result of that election. That is something that, I mean, of real significance to do that as a top politician. So yeah, I think if people want to say that, then they can.